In 12th grade, the school's big brother confessed his love to me. In order not to affect my university entrance exam, my best friend reported our early love story to the school. After that, the big brother was forced to drop out of school. As for me, I passed the entrance exam to Peking University, continued my studies at graduate school, and then worked as a graduate student. In the end, both Ty and I were successful in our careers. My best friend always brags everywhere that if it weren't for her, I would have ruined my future. She became the savior in everyone's eyes. Later, we both had an accident and died. She announced that she would give up the mentality of helping others, and this time she would live for herself. When I heard the words, "I like you," my mind was still dizzy. What's going on? Aren't I already dead? Just now when I went back to my old school to give a speech, I recounted endlessly how hard she worked that year to stop me from falling in love early. Thanks to that, I was able to get into Peking University and have the success I have today. She took my story as a lesson to teach her juniors not to fall in love too early. The lecture was originally to share learning experiences, but turned into a trial for me. Finally, I couldn't hold it in anymore and exploded. On the car ride back, I angrily shouted at Trin, telling her not to mention that again. But Trin got angry and scolded me for being ungrateful. That year, if it weren't for her, I would have fallen into ruin. I wouldn't have had the glorious life I have now. She said I didn't know how to thank her and was still angry at her. She always said I was ungrateful. If she weren't kind, I don't think anyone would pay attention to me. I feel very frustrated. However, I passed the Peking University entrance exam not thanks to her, but thanks to my own efforts. Later, I succeeded because I tried my best. As long as I refute her, she will immediately scold me for being ungrateful. Before, I always held back, but now I really don't want to hold back anymore. Do I need her to save me? Can she stop meddling in other people's affairs? Take care of your ruined life first. My words were like a knife cutting straight into Trin's self-esteem. Her face immediately turned red with anger. Over the years, she has achieved nothing except boasting about saving me. She did not finish her studies and had a bad career. When she fell in love, she was cheated of money, and when she went to work, she was fired. She blamed all of those failures on the fact that she spent too much time worrying about me and forgot about herself. At that time, we were driving on the highway. I know that arguing while driving is dangerous. I opened my mouth to apologize so we could both calm down, but I didn't expect Trin to be so angry that he reached out and grabbed my steering wheel. You're an ungrateful person. People like you don't deserve to be my best friend. The car lost control. Before I could react, I crashed straight into the barrier and was hit hard by a truck behind me. In the end, we were both crushed to death by an oil tank falling from a truck. The feeling of pain, being crushed, and being suffocated still lingers on my skin. Then suddenly, I heard a voice. I really like you. Don't be afraid. I won't embarrass you. I blinked. In front of me was Tran, the school's big brother. In his hand was a love letter, clutched so tightly that his fingers turned slightly white. I'm back. I'm reborn. I came back to life at the exact moment Tran confessed his love to me. I instinctively turned my head to look to the side. Sure enough, Trin from his previous life was also standing there. She also seemed to have just experienced a mental shock, but quickly regained her composure. When she saw the current situation clearly, the expression on her face immediately turned cold. Whatever you do has nothing to do with me. In this life, I will give up the mentality of wanting to help others and live this life well myself. Having finished speaking, she turned around and left without looking back. At that time, Tran and I were still bewildered by this strange situation. He seems to hate me, but I can actually explain. I'm not the type of person rumored to be. Tran was a bit confused. His voice became smaller. I looked at him and laughed. I know, you're not an unreasonable thug. You attack people just because they insulted someone else first. Normally, you look cold, just to scare troublemakers. Tran looked at me with wide eyes, seemingly not believing that I knew him so well. But the next second, I continued talking, still keeping a smile on my face. But your performance is really poor. Tran stiffened. When talking about studying, he became even more embarrassed and lowered his head. I'll try, he said. I smiled slightly. Just trying is not enough. In high school, I don't want to fall in love early. In college, I also don't like falling in love early. So if you want to be my boyfriend, I only have one way. You have to get into a university in the same city as me, and my goal is Beijing University. Can you pass the entrance exam to Beijing? I squinted my eyes at Lam Tran. My tone was calm, but it made his heart feel like a rock weighed down. Lam Tran was already not confident, but now that he heard me say that, his whole person became even more gloomy. He seemed to understand something. His voice also became weaker. I see. This is how good people reject others. Don't worry, I won't bother you again in the future. After speaking, he deliberately pretended not to care. His cold face returned to the appearance of a big brother. He turned and left. Only, the hand holding the love letter was shaking slightly, completely betraying his feelings. I laughed, raised my hand to take the letter from him. Effort alone is not necessarily enough, but if there is a good teacher to guide, then maybe you can succeed. Lam Tran turned back and looked at me in surprise. His eyes were filled with joy and excitement. Are you telling the truth? You want to help me? Are you that teacher? I glared at him. What are you thinking? I still have to focus on my university entrance exam. Go find someone to tutor you yourself. With your family's economic conditions, hiring a good tutor isn't difficult, right? Lam Tran looked at me, his face red. What are you thinking? I also have to prepare for the entrance exam to the university I want. Go find a good teacher yourself. With your family's economic conditions, isn't it difficult to hire a good tutor? No problem. Lam Tran nodded excitedly. The hand suddenly wanted to hug me, but I quickly took a step back and dodged. He's not angry either. On the contrary, what about Trin Trong's promise? You wait. I will definitely come to Beijing to be your boyfriend. I will definitely not give up. Having finished speaking, he left excitedly. Looking at his movements of taking out his phone, I guessed that he was definitely contacting his family to discuss the rent. I returned to class. As soon as I walked in, I saw that my best friend from my previous life had packed his things and moved to sit in the back row. What are you doing downstairs? Aren't you and Ti Jiao close friends? Are you two arguing? That's right. Didn't you two say you would be tablemates for life? A few girls in the class surrounded me, curiously asking. Seeing me walk in, Trin smiled coldly and calmly replied, Nothing. I just realized that this life is mine. I want to do my best for myself, not waste time on unworthy people. As soon as the words ended, all eyes in the class turned to me, clearly. In their eyes, the unworthy person she mentioned was me. I just shrugged my shoulders and calmly sat down in my seat. She's right. She should live for herself, not watch me all day. In my previous life, I rejected Lam Tran's confession on the spot. But in the end, Trin still reported to the school that I fell in love early because of her accusation. I was the top student in the whole school, becoming the subject of special attention from the teachers. Grade 12 was so important, the teachers couldn't or didn't dare let me make mistakes. So, when they heard that Lam Tran and I had feelings, the school's reaction was extremely harsh. They summoned both of our parents. No matter how we explained, they didn't believe it, because they had the love letter that Lam Tran wrote to me. In my previous life, I brought that letter to denounce it. Finally, to protect me, a student with the potential to become the city's valedictorian, the school decided to let Lam Tran transfer school. Even though his family is rich, in their eyes, a special student like him transferring schools will not have much effect on the university entrance exam. But who gives them the right to decide a person's future just because of a baseless accusation before school? Trin walked over to my table to get a few more items. Seeing that I was holding Lam Tran's love letter, she suddenly burst into contemptuous laughter. Indeed, a person obsessed with love will always be a person obsessed with love. In your previous life, you pretended to refuse, but in this life, you can't hold back anymore, right? I looked at her coldly, but she continued speaking, her tone filled with sarcasm. Don't worry, I won't help you this time. Just feel free to fall in love, I don't care. I will manage this life myself. You are not worthy of me saving you. I don't know where she got the courage to say these words, but in my previous life, I heard it too many times. I didn't reply, nor did I care about her provocation. Right in front of her, I carefully put the love letter in my school bag. That action made her even more angry, glaring at me with contempt. Right at this moment, before the teacher entered the classroom, a female student in the back desk whispered excitedly. So what? Just now Lam Tran confessed his love to you, right? You're so lucky. The school's big brother is both handsome and domineering. Do you agree? At that moment, the homeroom teacher also entered the classroom and heard that sentence. The teacher's sharp eyes immediately swept towards me. Tijiao, are you falling in love early? I immediately stood up and replied frankly, no, I don't fall in love early. The teacher frowned. So why do people say that Lam Tran confessed his love to you? Do you know what kind of person he is? You're in 12th grade. Don't let yourself go the wrong way at this important time. Hearing the homeroom teacher's anger, the female student in the back desk immediately realized that she had caused trouble. She secretly glanced at me, her eyes filled with love. Then, lower your head, trying to minimize your presence. The homeroom teacher looked at Trin, who was still standing next to me. In a cold voice, he asked, Trin, you are close to Tijiao. Tell me, did you two fall in love early? Trin's name was called, and he suddenly froze. She looked at me with complicated eyes, but finally replied, Teacher, I don't know. The homeroom teacher did not expect to receive this answer, his eyes clearly showing dissatisfaction. Teacher, I'm just a table mate with Tijiao. I don't always follow him. I don't know what he's doing. Furthermore, you can see that I've moved to the back seat. From now on, Tijiao and I will no longer be table mates. Trin's voice was clear and echoed throughout the class, as if he was swearing something important. The homeroom teacher paused slightly, clearly not understanding why she suddenly changed seats. But the teacher did not stop him. Anyway, my class sits according to academic rank. With Trin's achievements, she was originally not qualified to sit next to me. Only because I persisted in wanting to keep this position did the teacher reluctantly agree. But in fact, the teacher always felt that she was disturbing my studies. Now she herself wants to move, and I have no opinion. Of course, the teacher happily agreed. After Trin returned to his seat, the homeroom teacher looked at me and his voice became stricter. Do not interact with students like Lam Tran. Do you understand? I frowned, dissatisfied with the teacher's tone. Teacher, what do you mean by students like Lam Tran? Hearing that, the homeroom teacher's face became even more unsightly. Do you still dare to argue? Are you still saying that you didn't fall in love early? Lam Tran's studies are failing, and he's always quarreling and fighting. What kind of student is that? He's the middle class of the school. I clenched my fists, feeling extremely uncomfortable with these words. Teacher, I think it's wrong for you to degrade a student like that. Lam Tran is just a poor student, but that doesn't mean he doesn't deserve respect. Do you still dare to argue? The homeroom teacher angrily took a step forward, his voice sharp. Do you know how many times he got into fights? Is this just a matter of poor grades? I still maintain my stance, resolutely saying, every time he acts, there is a reason. Moreover, at first he did not want to act. It was because he reported it, but the teachers did not solve it that he was forced to protest on his own. The whole class was silent as a sheet. The homeroom teacher was so angry that I turned pale. As my teacher's most outstanding student, I dared to refute him right in front of me. Everyone, this makes me extremely angry. The teacher went outside and stood in the hallway. This was the first time I argued with a teacher, and also the first time I was punished for standing in the hallway. I know I didn't do it right, but there was one person who was extremely satisfied with this. When I walked out of class, I saw Trin's sparkling eyes. Those eyes were filled with joy. I smiled coldly, strode into the hallway, and stood against the wall. Then I saw Lam Tran. I don't know how long he's been standing there, but he clearly heard the entire conversation between me and the homeroom teacher. He was about to step forward, but I shook my head, telling him to go back to class. Lam Tran clenched his hands, but in the end he still listened to me and quietly turned around and left. After class, the homeroom teacher called me to his office. The teacher asked, "Why did you do that?" I'm so disappointed. Looking at the teacher's stern and disappointed expression, I also felt a little guilty. I took a deep breath and said softly, "Sorry, teacher, I was wrong." I didn't expect I would admit my mistake so quickly. The homeroom teacher was a bit stunned, but still seriously asked, "Where is SE?" I did not hesitate to answer immediately. I was wrong because I argued with the teacher right in the middle of class. Wrong because I criticized the teacher when he put down another student. The homeroom teacher was stunned and then slightly embarrassed said, "I am also at fault in this matter. What you said is not wrong. As a teacher, I should not arbitrarily look down on a student. It's just that you are a good student, one of the candidates capable of passing the Tanhua or Bakdai exam. I don't want you to go down the wrong path." Looking at the teacher's enthusiastic face, I immediately expressed my attitude. "Don't worry, teacher. I won't fall in love early. It's my fault for disobeying you, but I still firmly added, but I also hope you can ignore your prejudices about Lam Tran. Hearing me continue to help Lam Tran, the teacher's face looked a bit uncomfortable, but at least it wasn't as harsh as in the classroom. I understand that at this age, children are easily influenced by emotions. But the teacher said, you should think about your future, don't get close to someone like Lam Tran. I replied, Teacher, we really don't fall in love early. I only say these things because I want you to understand that Lam Tran can also become a good student, if only everyone would give him a chance. The homeroom teacher frowned. Are you going to tutor him in studying? I shook my head. To be honest, with my current situation, I'm still worried. Who can teach me? It's not like his current achievements are too low. If he only relies on lectures in class, he definitely won't be able to pass the exam to a good university. So I asked him to hire a tutor to study methodically. Hearing me say that, the homeroom teacher's face softened a bit. The teacher said, well, it's true that with his current background, the classroom teacher cannot set aside time to teach from the beginning. Hiring a tutor is also a good solution. But the teacher still had some doubts. Do you really believe he can do it? Right at this moment, a calm voice rang out from the door. Teacher, I can do it. The homeroom teacher and I turned our heads to look back at the same time. Lam Tran stood there, no longer his usual lazy look. Instead, there was a rare seriousness. Looking at him now, even I am a little surprised. The homeroom teacher stared at him for a long time, then finally relented and allowed him to enter the office. The teacher crossed his arms, his tone still cold. Give me a reason to believe you. Lam Tran swallowed hard and said seriously, Teacher, I can't guarantee that I will immediately improve my score dramatically. But I promise you, from now on, you will see every bit of my progress. I also promise that I will never fight again. The whole room fell into silence. The homeroom teacher looked at him for a long time. Undeniably, this is the first time I have seen such a serious Lam Tran. Before, whether he was punished or scolded, he never showed any humility. Right at this moment, the teacher's phone rang. It was a call from Lam Tran's father. After a short conversation, the teacher finally decided, Okay, I will give you a chance, but on one condition. He looked towards me and Lam Tran. His tone was stern. If in next month's exam T. Jiao's score drops, and you do not make clear progress, then you will be forced to leave this class. At the same time, you will not be allowed to continue to interact with T. Jiao. I clenched my fist. Unexpectedly, this rule is still the same as in the previous life, but this time I was the one who refused. Teacher, I cannot accept this condition. The homeroom teacher immediately frowned, looking dissatisfied. What else do you want? I took a deep breath, raised my head, and looked at the teacher with determined eyes. Teacher, I want to compete for the Olympic team. This statement surprised the teacher. The teacher frowned and said in a low voice, With your current scores, you have every chance of becoming valedictorian in the city. If you switch to competing in the Olympics, it will be a risky choice. I know, judging by the trajectory of my past life, that's true. But now I am no longer the Lai Ti Jiao of my previous life. With only 1 year left before the university entrance exam, if I follow the usual path, I'm not sure I will have the same brilliant results as before. But if I participate in the Olympic exam with my past life experience, I believe I can do it. Teacher, I think that following the competition path will help me have a greater chance of being recruited directly into Tanhua or Bakdai. I said in a very serious tone. Perhaps my resolute attitude kept the homeroom teacher from immediately refusing. Do you want to participate in the math Olympiad? I nodded. Okay. I will report this to the school. The homeroom teacher looked at Lam Tran and reminded, Remember what you promised me. After that, the teacher agreed to let Lam Tran transfer to our class. Previously, even if my father spent money, he could not send me to this class. Now, thanks to just one sentence from you, I can enter again. Lam Tran is still in a state of excitement. I glanced at him and calmly replied, It's not thanks to me, it's thanks to your promise. Don't forget what you told the homeroom teacher. Lam Tran smiled brightly and patted his chest confidently. Don't worry, I will definitely keep my word. I still have to pass the entrance exam to Beijing to be your boyfriend. After speaking, he excitedly ran back to his old classroom and packed his things. When I returned to the classroom, the atmosphere in the classroom had become strange. I just argued with the homeroom teacher for Lam Tran, and now I even brought him to class. The chair next to me, which was originally supported by Trin, has moved down. Now Lam Tran officially becomes my desk mate. The whole class exploded in disbelief. Is Lai Ti Jiao really with Lam Tran? Not only that, she also brought him into our class. How was the homeroom teacher convinced? Everyone found it hard to believe. Only one person was not surprised, Trin. Sitting in the back row, arms crossed, and smirking. Some people can do anything based on their good results. Now they even bring their boyfriends to class. Everyone in our class must take the exam here using their own abilities. No one gets special priority. One sentence immediately caused many uncomfortable eyes to focus on me and Lam Tran. Obviously, they were not satisfied, but because of Lam Tran's reputation, no one dared to say it directly to his face. Just a little bit of dissatisfaction on me. I didn't pay any attention, calmly rearranged the books on the table, then tilted my head to look at my new table mate. Concentrate on listening to the lecture. Lam Tran nodded strongly. He said he would study seriously and actually did so throughout the entire lesson. He sat upright, focused on listening to the lecture. This surprised even the classroom teachers. Lam Tran is inherently very smart. He's just never been really serious before. Now at least he can absorb the lectures in class. So I'm not worried about whether he can improve or not. In his previous life, because of me, he lost his future. In this life, I must help him once. Regarding participating in the Olympic exam, after the homeroom teacher, the teacher in charge and the board of directors discussed, they finally agreed, but with one condition. I had to pass an aptitude test first, with the exam questions directly set by the school's veteran teachers. Fortunately, thanks to the foundation from my previous life, I completed the test with very good results. Finally, the homeroom teacher officially accepted me to participate in the Olympic exam. After receiving consent, I hesitated a bit and then softly said to the homeroom teacher, "Can you temporarily not talk about this with the other students?" The homeroom teacher frowned and asked confusedly, "Why?" I softly explained, "I'm afraid you guys will think that competing in the Olympics is a shortcut to getting into college." Hearing that, the homeroom teacher pondered for a moment, then nodded in agreement with my suggestion. My grades dropped significantly. Many times I had to go to the specialized teacher's room for private training. This led to my frequent absences from evening self-study sessions. As for Lam Tran, thanks to his family's support, he hired a top tutor. After discussing with his homeroom teacher, he also decided not to stay at school in the evening, but went home to study with a tutor. However, in the eyes of classmates, this story became a completely different version. Lai Ti Jiao, because of falling in love early, fell apart. She no longer cares about studying. She only knows how to follow Lam Tran all day. Both even spent the evening self-studying. That morning, I came to class earlier than usual and overheard some classmates talking. Lai Ti Jiao is an excellent student, so why would she get involved with a thug like Lam Tran? Now she even spends hours studying on her own and only knows about love all day long. She only has one more year left before the university entrance exam. Isn't she worried? Another friend spoke up. Why do you care? I give you one advice. Not everyone is worth saving. It's best to focus on your exams. Ignore the thought of helping others. Live for yourself. Trin's voice carried a bit of pride. Someone said, "That's right. No wonder why he and Ti Jiao have been so distant lately. Turns out it's because he saw through it." A classmate said in surprise, "That's right. It's the senior year now. Who better take care of that person's business?" Another person agreed. Seeing everyone's response, the arrogance into Trin's eyes became even more obvious. "I'm just seeing the truth clearly. Stay away from self-destructive people to avoid ending up being blamed in return," I said. But Ti Jiao is not that type of person. Furthermore, she just doesn't participate in self-study at night. During the day, she still goes to school normally. Maybe she has her own reasons? We can't just conclude that she's far away. The person who spoke up was Chu Lak Lak, the beauty queen of my class. She frowned slightly, trying to speak up for me. But Trin just smiled coldly. "You understand her better than me, Chu Lak Lak. I advise you to stay away from her. Otherwise, you will regret it." Chu Lak Lak wanted to refute, but before he could speak, Trin continued. The tone was filled with contempt. "I know you are the same type of person who likes idols as Lai Ti Jiao. Both are people obsessed with love. Advice is useless, but I still want to remind you one thing. Don't follow the path of art competition because of your love for idols. Later on, that path will be very difficult to follow. Chu Lak Lak's face immediately turned red. She originally intended to enter the acting industry, but always had a bit of low self-esteem. However, she has the strength and ability to enter a prestigious art school. However, in her previous life, after graduating, she actually had difficulty finding acting opportunities. Even when Trin and I had an accident, she still hadn't received any significant roles. But there was one thing that Trin didn't know. At that time, Zhou Lak Lak was noticed by a famous director. She's secretly participating in a big movie project. It's just that the movie hasn't reached promotion time yet, so people still don't know. I knew very well that the movie would definitely be a huge success because I used to know the producer of that movie. But now, just because of Trin's words, Chu Lak Lak's confidence has been shaken. At that moment, I entered the classroom. All I saw first was Trin's challenging eyes. She didn't flinch when she saw me. On the contrary, he deliberately looked at me with a provocative look. Lai Ti Jiao, I'm not wrong, right? You don't need my help anymore, Trin said. I laughed coldly. You helped? What did you get to help me? Is your performance at the bottom? Trin gritted his teeth and glared at me, his tone full of anger. My low achievements don't mean I can't rise up. As long as I make an effort, I can definitely go against the tide and get into a good university. As for you, a person who is always proud of his natural talent but wastes his talent is the one who will soon fall from the top. I couldn't help but laugh. She thinks this is a reincarnation series. Just because the heroine's aura is reincarnated doesn't mean she can change her thinking or abilities. At this moment, Lam Tran also entered the classroom. He coldly glanced at Trin, his voice carrying a mocking tone. What right do you have to say that Lai Ti Jiao will fall from the peak? Facing Lam Tran's sharp eyes, Trin was a little panicked. The surrounding students quickly spoke up to reconcile. It's just a joke, Lam Tran, don't take it to heart. Lam Tran snorted coldly, pulling me to sit in my seat. After that, he looked at Trin challengingly and calmly sat down next to me. This action is like adding fuel to the fire. Trin was so angry that he couldn't help but blurt out. It's because of you that a person who doesn't study well even drags along a person who's blinded by love. It's a miracle that the two of them don't drop in rank. Hearing that, Lam Tran immediately stood up, his eyes filled with murderous intent. I quickly held his hand and warned in a low voice. Trin, if you don't know anything, don't talk nonsense. She sneered, her eyes filled with sarcasm. I don't know? I know too well. I know what the outcome of helping you will be. So this time I won't help you anymore. Are you satisfied? Her sarcastic tone made the anger rise in my heart. Before I could refute, at that moment, the homeroom teacher's voice rang out angrily. What are you guys doing? The whole class immediately scattered like birds with broken nests. Trin immediately showed an unjust expression, with tears in his eyes. Teacher, Lam Tran is trying to bully me. The homeroom teacher looked serious and turned to Lam Tran. What is this? I immediately stood up and explained. Teacher, that's not true. I was just the one who provoked it first. The homeroom teacher looked at me and then at the whole class. Finally, the teacher asked, did anyone see Lam Tran hit his friend? The whole class shook their heads in unison. It was clearly just a verbal argument. There was no violent action. Finally, the homeroom teacher asked Lam Tran to go home and invite his parents to work, while Trin was kept in class to continue studying. Lam Tran was still not convinced, but under my admonishing eyes, he gritted his teeth and accepted. From that day on, my classmates became even more prejudiced against me. In their eyes, I am a person who is confused by love, as Trin said. That day was physical education, but I had to go to the teacher's room to make up for the Olympic exam knowledge. So I didn't join the same class. When I returned to class, there was only one person left in the class, Chu Lak Lak. She had a stomach ache due to her period, so she couldn't go to the gym. Seeing me walk in, Chu Lak Lak suddenly sat down next to me, hesitated for a moment, then asked in a low voice, why do you say? Am I really not suitable for the artistic path? I looked at her silently. It seemed that Trin's words the other day had made her waver. These past few days, I've also noticed that she seems to have lost a lot of confidence. I tilted my head slightly and asked again, did you take the art competition just because you wanted to meet your idol? In the past, She always said that she wanted to go into the entertainment industry to be close to the ladies. Zhou Lac Lac was stunned, then awkwardly replied, "Not really. I really like acting." I smiled lightly, looking straight into her eyes. "Then just take the test. How long have you been preparing for this? Are you really willing to give up just because of a few words from others?" Zhou Lac Lac bit her lip. Her eyes flashed with hesitation. "But with my appearance and the entertainment industry, it's nothing." I looked at her, my tone calm but firm. "You are very beautiful, but more importantly, you want to be an actor, right? Then, instead of just relying on appearance, why not use your strength to conquer the audience? Wouldn't a person who wins through acting have greater achievements?" That day, we talked for a long time. It wasn't until the gym class ended that Zhou Lac Lac returned to his seat. Which path she will choose, I cannot predict. But at least, I hope she won't continue to be confident because of Trin's words. Increasingly, I spend more and more time practicing for Olympic competition. The number of classes I had to miss also increased. As for Lam Tran, after the previous incident, his family discussed directly with the teacher and decided to let him study with a tutor at home for a while. Thanks to that, the rumor in school spread even more that Lam Tran and I were so in love that we neglected our studies. That I was so careless because of love that I didn't even bother to attend self-study classes. But I don't have time to pay attention to these rumors, because right now my mother is sick and hospitalized. I have to take care of my mother and participate in competition training. Going to class became more and more sparse, and then the exam took place in the first month of the 12th grade. I did not participate because at that time I was participating in an important Olympic competition. When I returned to school, I learned that Lam Tran's total score had increased by 200 points. His class rank jumped 500 places. Lam Tran happily took the scoreboard and ran to show it to the homeroom teacher. The teacher was also very pleased and encouraged him to continue trying. But there is one person who cannot accept this result, Trin, because after a month of studying hard, her score not only did not increase, but also dropped. So, when the homeroom teacher praised Lam Tran in front of the whole class, she suddenly stood up and said, "Teacher, I suspect Lam Tran of cheating." The whole class was in an uproar. She looked around, her eyes filled with dissatisfaction. Everyone knows who Lam Tran is. He's hardly gone to class for the past month. Yet the scores increased so suddenly. Isn't it unreasonable? These words immediately made many students waver, even though the homeroom teacher assured that there were no errors in the grading process. But Trin still stubbornly refused to believe it. She even brought along a group of classmates who didn't like Lam Tran to denounce him to the school board. In the end, the school was forced to reinvestigate Lam Tran's exam, and the result was that Lam Tran did not cheat. After the official announcement was made, some classmates began to accept the truth, but Trin still refused to admit it. Lam Tran has money and has a girlfriend who studies well by his side. He can even transfer into our class. So is it strange that the school covers for him because of his achievements? No one agreed with her, but there were still people who heard these words. Lam Tran's all-time effort in the end only resulted in suspicious looks from everyone around him. He gradually became moody, even starting to think about giving up. "So, just because people doubt you, do you want to give up?" I smiled coldly, looking straight at him. Hearing that, Lam Tran quickly shook his head. "No, I don't give up." "That's good." I nodded, then turned and walked straight towards Trin. Standing in front of her, I calmly said, "Trin, do you know that fabricating rumors is a violation of the law?" Trin was a bit taken aback, but immediately retorted harshly, "What did I make up?" I raised my eyebrows and calmly replied, "First, you said I was Lam Tran's girlfriend, but I never agreed to be his girlfriend. So this is a baseless rumor. Second, based on your personal speculation, you concluded that the school covered up the fraud, affecting the school's reputation. This is an act of fabricating false information. Do you think you can be responsible for this?" Trin's face immediately changed. She stood up in panic, raised her voice, and said, "Don't scare me. I'm just making a reasonable guess." "Reasonable speculation?" I laughed coldly. "Is it speculation or intentional slander? You know it in your heart. Or do you want me to directly report it to the police for judgment?" Trin stiffened, panic clearly showing in his eyes. Then suddenly, she shouted in excitement, "Lai Ti Jiao, do you still want to ruin my life? Isn't once enough?" The whole class suddenly fell silent. No one understood why she reacted like that, but I understood. In her heart, she always thinks that my success is thanks to her, and her failure is also due to me. This is a very difficult issue to determine right from wrong. I sighed and calmly said, I just hope you don't go down the wrong path. Take care of yourself. Having finished speaking, I returned to my seat and waited for class to begin. From behind, I heard Trin's stubborn voice. You can do whatever you want based on your talent. But do you think this time you can pass the entrance exam to Tanhua or backdie without trying? Lai Ti Jiao, you will regret it. These words were said as if I had never tried in my previous life. But I clearly understood that arguing with someone like her was useless, so I just quietly focused on my lesson, not paying attention to her anymore. Actually, if this time she really doesn't interfere in my affairs and just focuses on her studies, then I'll be happy for her too. But I didn't expect that in this life. She would be even more crazy. It seemed she was convinced of one thing. I must live a terrible life to be worthy. Especially after Chu Lak Lak talked to me and still steadfastly pursued the path of art competition. Trin went crazy. She started defaming me on school forums and on social networks. She said that I was a student with high talent, but I let myself go because of love. Not only that, I also encouraged a female student with average ability in the class to follow the difficult path of art competition. In her article, she wrote, Grade 12 is the most important year. Many people choose the wrong path on impulse, not knowing that ahead is a bottomless abyss. But Lai Ti Jiao doesn't care about that at all. She incites an ordinary girl to go down a difficult path without even thinking about what she will have to face. What does such a person have in the end? I used to be her best friend, so I understand her best. A person who only knows how to suck the blood of his friends and does not know gratitude. Has he ever thought about the consequences that the other girl will have to suffer? These sincere words quickly spread throughout the school's forums. Not long after, I was labeled a student who was falling for love. Not only that, Trin also spread rumors that Lam Tran and I often skipped school to date, even rented a room outside. This story quickly spread to the school board. The very next day, Lam Tran and I were called to the principal's office. The principal looked at us with a cold tone. You two promised to study hard before, but is the result now like this? Then he turned to look at Lam Tran, his eyes filled with dissatisfaction. Lam Tran, your score in the monthly exam has improved, but you are still in the bottom group in the class rankings. If this continues, you will drag Lai Ti Jiao back. Our school values the university admission rate. I suggest you transfer to another school. Don't affect the excellent students of this school. Lam Tran clenched his fist. The blue veins on the back of his hand were clearly visible. He wanted to refute, but maybe he remembered the previous promise he made to me and the homeroom teacher. In the end, even though he was so angry that his lips trembled, he still did not speak. I took a deep breath and was about to open my mouth to explain, but before I could say anything, the principal coldly pointed at me. Lai Ti Jiao, I always thought you were a good student, but now you not only fall down yourself, but also drag others down with you. Makes me so disappointed. I looked at the principal's disappointed face and couldn't help but laugh. He hadn't even found out the truth yet, but he was already disappointed. This scene reminded me of my past life. At that time, because of his somewhat rebellious and individualistic way of dressing, Lam Tran was shunned and even humiliated by some of his classmates. He reported it to the school, but the school considered it his own problem. They didn't care at all, nor did they interfere. In the end, the resentment built up more and more, until he couldn't take it anymore and started fighting. Then, because of Trin's accusations, the school decided to force him to change schools. Now history is repeating itself again. Just when I was about to lose control of my anger, a voice rang out. Is the homeroom teacher? Teacher, principal, this is a complete misunderstanding. He calmly explained the entire situation between me and Lam Tran recently. Lam Tran was not at school because he was taking tutoring lessons at home. His family reported to me, and I also confirmed with his tutor. As for Lai Ti Jiao, she is participating in the training program for the Olympic exam. Her mother is also in the hospital. She doesn't go to class not because she's in love, but because she's either at the hospital for her mother, or participating in training, or competing. Then the teacher looked at the principal and emphasized each word. There's no way they could skip class to go on a date and rent a room outside. This is a complete slander. The principal's expression softened slightly. He turned to look at Lam Tran and asked, "Are you really studying with a tutor at home?" Lam Tran nodded strongly, his eyes full of resentment. The principal now realized that he had jumped to conclusions. But after all, he is the principal and cannot easily admit his mistakes. So his tone was still tough, but this is also my problem, because I have always given a bad impression to others, so people easily misunderstand me like that. Having said that, he turned to ask, "What about the female art competition student?" The homeroom teacher took out a file and gave it to the principal. "That girl's name is Chu Lak Lak. She's a very beautiful girl. Her family is well off, and since she was a child she's been properly trained, so taking the art exam is completely reasonable. Before, she was a little lacking in confidence, but now she's much better. It's said that her expertise is very good. As long as she maintains a stable cultural score, her chances of getting into the Central Academy of Drama are very high." The principal was a bit surprised. "Does our school have such excellent students?" The homeroom teacher nodded. "Well, she's a very good girl." The principal was silent for a moment, then finally frowned. "So that means it's all just a rumor?" "Exactly." I immediately spoke up. "So can you contact the person who spread the rumor to ask them to publicly correct it?" The principal, of course, did not react immediately, but everything was clear. Ning clearly understands the importance of this issue. "That's right. I will immediately ask the school forum management to find out who posted the post." This clearly affected the school's reputation. But right after that, I lowered my voice and asked the principal, "I think that the person spreading this rumor has great ill will towards me and Lam Tran. Therefore, I hope that the school will temporarily not reveal that I have been exonerated. I am afraid that this will affect my direct admission." Hearing that, the principal frowned, dissatisfied. "Just being a student, can it affect my direct admission? After all, doing so is just self-harm." But the homeroom teacher didn't think so. "Teacher, this is an important moment. I think Lai Tijiao has a point. It's better to be careful." When Lam Tran and I walked out of the principal's office, his expression was much better. Even right in front of passing students, he patted Lam Tran on the shoulder, encouraging him to try harder. This incident immediately became a unique phenomenon in the school's history. The principal encouraged a thirsty big brother in the end, and the person who spread the rumors was also found to be Trin. The whole class was extremely surprised, because in their memories, Trin was my best friend. Even though there was a conflict between the two of us over love, they didn't expect her to go to the extent of creating a story to defame me online. But even when exposed, Trin stubbornly objected. "What's wrong with me just telling the truth? The school is too biased towards Lai Tijiao. If you keep pampering her like that, it's like harming her. The people who should be protected are serious students like me, not someone who only knows how to love." These words shocked the teachers present to the point of speechlessness. The principal almost couldn't believe his eyes, flipping through the achievement chart in his hand, staring at Trin's position. His voice was full of sarcasm. "You say you only focus on studying, but why are you ranked 150th from the bottom in the class rankings?" Trin's face immediately turned red with embarrassment. "Me? I just haven't adapted yet. Once I get used to the pressure of studying, I will definitely rise to the top." No one knows where she got the courage to say that, but since it's her senior year, the school doesn't want to make a big deal out of it. In the end, they just asked her to delete the post and publicly apologize. However, she only deleted the post, but did not speak up. Even the teachers urged her several times, but she ignored them. And then, this thing gradually subsided. I'm not too concerned about that. After all, online rumors are only temporary and will sooner or later be forgotten. I thought that after this lesson, Trin would stop, but I was too naive. Not only did she not stop, but she also went directly to my mother. Maybe because in her previous life, she knew where my mother was in the hospital. So one weekend, when I went to the hospital to visit my mother, inside the hospital room, a girl was sitting next to my mother's bed. The voice was choked, full of emotion. "Auntie, I know Tijiao is your greatest hope, but now that she has passed away on her own, I can't help it." She also brought other girls in the class with her. I really don't dare to advise her. I'm afraid that if I speak up, she will blame me. She bowed her head. Her voice became even more tragic. "Actually, I shouldn't have said these things when you were sick," but she became more and more unreasonable. I just hope you can advise her not to drag others down with her and not continue to target you. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Is she really that good at changing white to black? During all the years of being close friends, I never knew in my previous life that she had such excellent acting talent. I clenched my fists, intending to step in and expose her on the spot. But at that moment, my mother's voice rang out. To Trin, I always consider you T. Jiao's best friend, so I always love you very much. But T. Jiao is my daughter. I understand her better than anyone. She slowly continued, her tone calm but firm. I have no opinion on love, but you say that because of love, she skips school, plays around, and even drags other girls along. I don't believe it. To Trin's face stiffened, she looked at my mother in disbelief. Auntie, don't you believe me? I also saw the love letter that Lam Tran sent her. This is the clearest evidence. But my mother still maintained a calm attitude. Yes, I saw that letter, but I didn't read the content. I understand the psychology of youth. I also know that my daughter is a moderate person. T. Jiao is a child who knows how to balance study and life, especially in this senior year. I believe that she will not let love matters affect her. Then, her eyes became sharper as she looked at Trin, saying in return, I want to remind you of one thing. Arbitrarily taking someone else's death note to make it public is an invasion of privacy. These words made Trin speechless. She opened her mouth to object, but couldn't say anything. Seeing that my mother was not shaken, she angrily left the room. But as soon as she walked out, she bumped into me. I crossed my arms and looked at her with cold eyes. Is this what you call giving up the habit of helping people focus on their own lives? You've meddled in my personal life too much. You shouldn't have come to bother my mother when she's sick. Trin's face clearly showed panic. But she quickly regained her cold, arrogant expression. I just couldn't bear to see him being deceived by you. But I didn't expect that you and your mother would be so ungrateful. Having finished speaking, she turned around and ran away, her face panicked, her appearance struggling. It was unsightly. In the hospital room, my mother heard everything, but she didn't ask anything about school, just gently told me, I believe you can handle this on your own. But if you can't, just tell me, I'll be on your side. This is the person who truly loves me. They will not arbitrarily decide their lives, but always believe that they can make the right choice. That's why this time I won't forgive Trin. I collected enough evidence about the false rumors she spread, then I reported it to the police. When the school found out about the incident, Trin was summoned by the police to investigate. The principal blamed me for not notifying the school in advance. But when they heard about her coming to the hospital to bother my mother, no one said another word. Finally, the police criticized Trin for defaming others online, forcing her to post a public apology. But I didn't expect her apology to be like this. In front of all netizens, she once again repeated all the old rumors. She wrote, I shouldn't have arbitrarily revealed my classmates' personal information because I saw evidence. I also shouldn't have told the truth to her mother because I was thinking about my classmate. I was just worried when I saw a friend become more and more distant. I just couldn't accept that her mother was deceived by her own daughter. But I was too hasty and made things go further. I apologized to Lai T. Jiao and Lam Tran. She continued, I shouldn't have seen two people constantly appearing and speculated that they were dating. I shouldn't have seen Lam Tran's scores suddenly increase and suspected him of cheating. I sincerely apologize to you too. As soon as the apology was posted, there were even more curses aimed at me and Lam Tran. Even the school was dragged into it and criticized for covering up for me. On the contrary, Trin became a pitiful victim when his best friend betrayed him online. Everyone showed pity for her, called me a porridge eater, and advised her to stay away from me. Trin also eloquently declared, this time I have seen through everything. I will let go of the so-called helping others and focus on myself. My future will definitely shine. Still that ridiculous statement. But this time, I really don't intend to respond anymore. I decided to temporarily take a break and focus on preparing for the Olympic exam to gain direct admission. Lam Tran, although angry at the online attacks, after I advised him, he also decided to close all his social network accounts and focus on his studies. The school also noticed our situation, so they decided to let us both temporarily not go to school. I went to a closed training area to prepare for the Olympic exam, while Lam Tran continued studying at home. Each practice exam will receive questions from the teacher, but the results will not be included in the official rankings. Trin thought she had won this time. While continuing to study, she took advantage of her online fame to become a hot livestream girl. She started telling the story between me and her, but from a third person's perspective. In that story, there was a female student who almost went astray, but luckily, thanks to her best friend, she was saved. But then, because she was so infatuated with a male student, she resented her friend. Despite achieving great heights in life, she was ungrateful and eventually, on a highway, she provoked her best friend to the point that she tragically died. She and I are in this life. Her image has been raised even more. She became a strong, alert female protagonist, daring to let go of unworthy people, determined to rebuild her life. On the internet, she eloquently declared that this time, Lai Ti Jiao can live a depraved life however she wants. I don't care anymore. I just know that I will create my own future. These words continue to help her attract a large number of fans. But what about reality? Trin originally had no talent for studying, but now she's distracted by being a live streamer. So her grades barely improved, but that didn't seem to matter to her. Because in her eyes, it doesn't matter if she succeeds or not. If I fail, it's already her victory. Grade 12 passed very quickly, and soon it was time for the university entrance exam. To attract more attention, he live streamed from the moment he entered the exam room to the moment he left the exam room. Even during the break between exams, she took her phone everywhere to look for me, but couldn't find me. Finally, in the live stream, she said in disappointment, "It seems like Lai Ti Jiao has really fallen to the point where she doesn't dare to take the university entrance exam anymore." This statement immediately caused a stir among netizens. During that time, I did not speak up until the university entrance exam results were announced. I opened the live stream. Not only that, I also connected directly to Trin's live stream. Seeing me appear, her eyes showed excitement. "Lai Ti Jiao, you finally dare to appear. Today is the day the university entrance exam scores are announced. Do you think you have enough scores to enter any college?" I smiled coldly. "What? I'm also planning to check the test scores with you. How about, do you want to compete with me?" Compete for scores with me. Trin's tone was full of mockery. "Lai Ti Jiao, do you know how long it's been since you've gone to class? Are you sure you're really taking the exam, yet you want to compare scores with me?" I deliberately provoked. "You just need to answer whether you dare to compare or not." "Okay, let's compare." Trin arrogantly sneered. "Someone who hasn't studied for more than half a year dares to compare points with me? Do you think you're still the same genius as before?" The time for announcing scores has arrived. She quickly took control first. "I will open my score first to show you what real effort is." I nodded, in front of thousands of people watching the live stream. I just entered my enrollment number, and the score appeared. More than 400 points, approximately the standard score for admission to a general class university. Compared to her results in her previous life, which were only enough to get into college, this was a big step forward. She proudly raised her eyebrows and said, "Effort certainly brings results. Before, I could only go to college, but thanks to a year of hard work, I was able to enter a regular university. I believe that as long as I keep trying, I can study further, even get a master's degree." Viewers in the live stream also cheered and congratulated her. Then, she turned to me and urged, "It's your turn, Lai Ti Jiao. Let's see how many points you can get." I also didn't bother entering my registration number into the test score lookup page. Even though I was mentally prepared, when the score appeared, my heart still beat a beat faster. 569 points. I smiled faintly. It doesn't look bad. Trin's expression immediately stiffened. Perhaps she did not expect that I could still score over 500 points even though I barely went to school. But in the end, she still looked disdainful. "It's really a decline. You were originally a student with the potential to enter Tanhua or Bac Dai, but now you've only achieved this. Are you satisfied? What a stupid girl, losing your future because of love." Viewers in the live stream also began to express regret. A genius once had the opportunity to enter Tanhua, Bac Dai, but now only has more than 500 points. What a pity. If she had studied as hard as Trin, she would probably have become the valedictorian this year. Looking at Trin's regretful comments along with his jealous and gloating expression, I just smiled. She even scoffed. "A fallen person like you will definitely go backwards in college." Comments below the live stream unanimously responded, "That's right. Even in the strict environment of high school, she can't control herself. Going to college will definitely be even worse. I didn't deny it, just calmly said, "Who said this is my score?" This statement immediately caused the whole live stream to explode. Trin's eyes lit up. Lai Ti Jiao, I didn't expect you to be so vain. Even your grades have to be taken from others to show off. Why are you really still an excellent student? I smiled lightly. That's right, this score is not mine. I can't compare with you, so I borrowed someone else's score. But can you guess whose score it is? No. I slowly scrolled down the screen to reveal the score owner's name, Lam Tran. The whole livestream frame shook. I looked at the screen, my eyes cold. It was him, the person he always considered a promiscuous delinquent with no future. He scored higher than you, Trin. Stunned, her face turned pale. I continued to say, "You've been constantly boasting about your efforts over the past year. But look, even someone you once despised has done better than you. Then I really don't understand where you've put in your efforts during this year." Trin didn't know how to respond, but I didn't stop. I looked straight at the screen. My voice was calm, but full of weight. I said, "I can't compare to you not because I'm inferior to you, but because I didn't take the university entrance exam, because I was admitted directly to back die. Sorry, I disappointed you again." As I spoke, I took out the admission notice from Peking University and put it in front of the screen. At that moment, the whole live stream seemed to explode. Trin's proud face finally crumbled. She stiffened, looking at the notice in my hand, her face filled with panic as if her entire world had just collapsed. "No way, you're lying to me. You're definitely lying to me." Her shrill scream rang out, her voice filled with madness. "No, I don't believe it. I didn't help you. I didn't stop you. You should have become a bad girl, a failure, someone with no school to accept you. Why can you still enter back die? Why? I don't believe it. I don't believe it." In front of thousands of people watching, Trin went completely crazy. She screamed like a lunatic, then smashed the live stream camera and cut off suddenly. Later, when I heard about her, I learned that her parents forced her into a mental hospital. It is said that she refused to go to school, muttering every day that she was the main female character, the one who should have turned the tables, the one who should have shined brightly. As for me, I finally arrived at the school I always wanted. Compared to my previous life, college life this time doesn't have too many differences. There's only one biggest difference. This time, there's an annoying tail next to me. I told you before, if you pass the entrance exam to a school in Beijing, I will agree to be your girlfriend. On the flight to Beijing, Lam Tran sat next to me and seriously confirmed his promise. I couldn't help but laugh. Before, I just casually used this as an excuse to encourage him, but I didn't expect that he could actually do it. Looking at his eyes full of expectation, I nodded slightly. "Okay, this title of boyfriend is temporarily given to you, but whether you want to keep it or not depends on whether you have enough courage." Lam Tran smiled confidently, his voice carrying his inherent arrogance. "Don't worry, once it's mine, don't expect to escape." His eyes were bright, no longer the careless look of his previous life. "I think this time both he and I will have a better life."